the Brooklyn Nets, the Philadelphia 76ers. They clash tonight for the first time since Harden was a Sixer and Simmons is a Net. And it won't even matter come June. How you doing? I'm Cole Johnson. This is Cole Sports on the Daily. Well, I just give you hot takes on a daily basis. And this is the hot take today. So tonight in Wells Fargo Arena, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, we have the visiting team, the Brooklyn Nets, against the home squad in the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, both teams, of course, are fighting for playoff positioning. The Sixers have slid off just a tad, and they've come back, but I won't say they're close to the number one seed, but it looks like they're competing for the number 3 or 4 seed now. As for the Nets, they're hoping that they can tread water and get to the play-in round. And if they can hit a hot streak, maybe get or earn the 6th or 5th seed. Now that Durant is back, that possibility is there. But I'm not talking about all of those particulars. The reason why this was debated as of middle of February is because of the 2 participants that people are focused on. For the Nets, it's Ben Simmons. For the Sixers, it is James Harden. And that's been the focus. And a lot of people have said, which of these 2 teams, now that they've had their trade happen, is going to advance further? And a lot of people were hyped on both teams, and Vegas is still hyped on the Nets. Unfortunately, chill. Tell me.
We gotta pause that.
All right, here's why we have to pause all of that. When Harden was a Net, he forced his way off of his 2nd straight team in the NBA season. He did it last year when he forced his way out of Houston, unfortunately ballooning to an unplayable weight. And it hurt him once he got traded to the Nets because he was having supposedly an MVP type season until the hamstrings couldn't carry the weight of his new weight that he gained to purposely get his way out of H-Tan. And then you have Ben Simmons, who on June 20th, 2021, felt as though he was part of a cog of the Trust the Process crew, where they had the Eastern Conference number 1 seed. They were rolling. They were on their way to getting to a conference finals for the first time in many a year, and the first time in the Trust the Process crew era. Then he has a mouse in the house situation and decides to dish off instead of dunk over a 6'1" guy. That 6'1" guy being Trae Young. And the rest, of course, is history. 8.5 months later, now Simmons is wearing a Nets jersey. Actually, he hasn't worn a Nets jersey yet because he's been busy flossing on the sideline wearing street clothes. And so people were saying, I can't wait. And I'm not talking about Philadelphians. I'm not talking about Sixers fan. Of course, they're going to salivate every time Ben Simmons comes anywhere near the vicinity of the arena because they want to get off the booze. And I don't mind them doing so. No, I'm talking about prognosticators, sports analysts, and sports fan. They were circling this date, March the 10th, because they were saying that finally Ben Simmons will come back onto the court and he should be able to suit up and play against the 76ers. And to that I said, no, sir, that's not happening. No. The first game he will play as a Net will not be in Philadelphia. The reason why he didn't want to suit up and be a 76er is because, unfortunately, he seems to have PTSD when it comes to Wells Fargo Arena. Look, I'm sorry. That's just how it goes. That's just how it is. No. Simmons and his ability has been put on pause. So since it was put on pause being in Philly, It's now being put on pause in Brooklyn because we haven't seen him play one possession yet. Meanwhile, in Philadelphia, we have James Harden wanting to prove that he is a team player. He didn't really feel it. He basically, as they say, he faked it till he made it in Brooklyn. Now we're trying to see if he is faking it until he's making it in Philly, or if it's the real deal, that he actually is coming with the goods and he wants to bring home a championship to Philadelphia in 39 years and be in the finals for the first time in 21. The issue that I have is both teams swapped problems. The problem with the Sixers was they couldn't get Simmons on the court. And that has been a problem ever since the offseason. And so everything the Sixers tried, it failed. And everything Simmons tried, it failed. And he stayed on the sideline and stayed on the sideline further and stayed on the sideline further. Now he is staying on the sidelines in Brooklyn Nets paraphernalia, or under the auspices of the Brooklyn Nets. Meanwhile, James Harden, he was playing good, but he wasn't playing up to the MVP level. And that slight change may have happened in the new scenery and the new digs. But let me let you in on a not so huge secret. You see, James Harden, when it comes to this time of year, mid-October to mid-April, he's one of the best to ever do it. And I really do mean that. He's one of the best to ever do it. I mean, he is the first player since Michael Jordan back in 1987 to average 37 points in a season. So he does have what it takes to play stellar elite basketball, mostly on the offensive end, in the regular season. Ask me what he does in the playoffs. Now, as a Rockets fan, I saw it up close and personal 8 years. Went to the conference finals a few times, 0 for every one of them. And then you have other instances like the 2017 Western Conference semifinals when they met up against the Spurs, where he was so disheartened after game 5 because he had a shot blocked at the buzzer. Manu Ginobili, one of the greatest defensive plays in the playoffs I've ever seen. He decided to turn into 10.6 turnover, 6 foul performance. 2 of 10 from the field. And he was so disinterested that he was making it rain in the club 15 minutes after the game was over. You see, it's those things. Then the very next year, after having a 3-2 series lead against the Warriors and already having funky issues with them 2 times before in the playoffs, come up 0 for 2 and lose that series, and being part of the 0 for 27 brick fest in game 7 at home. Then 11 months later, after Kevin Durant goes down, the series is tied 2-2. You have the golden opportunity to beat the Golden State Warriors, probably more so than even the year before. Later goose egg in the fourth quarter in game 5. Later hard goose egg in the fourth quarter, game 6. And the bench, along with Harden, laid a goose egg against the Warriors as they were outscored by the Warriors bench 34-17. Each time Harden blamed other people. Each time Harden blamed other scenarios. Each time Harden blamed everything else instead of the master of the step back travel, Herb 3 himself. Then he wanted to get his boy Russell Westbrook on the team. 1 year of that, and he wanted to ship him out of there. So he gets to the Nets, has a year where he is not the man. He has to usurp that to Durant. He seems to not really like it. Seems not like Brooklyn, and he forces his way off the team his second year on the club. So what makes any of us think that he wouldn't pull the same stunt and stuff that he's already done the last 2 stops? Because he has professed his love of Houston. And I mean after he became a Net. So if he loves Houston the way he does, but he treated the Rockets that salty, then why did he want to force his way out of Houston that badly? Now, I know you would say, well, they're in a rebuilding program. They're trying to rebuild. Well, okay, fine. If they're trying to rebuild, that's on them. But I'm sure they could find a way to make that work. And I'm sure Harden could be professional enough to make it work instead of trying to balloon and wait to physically say he is incapable of doing the job, which that's what he did. So he was incapable of doing the job in Houston because he was overweight. Then he was incapable of doing the job in Brooklyn because his hamstrings all of a sudden had issue. But a funny thing happened to those hamstrings when he traveled 106 miles southwest from Brooklyn to Philly. Those hamstrings looked mighty fine. I mean, he was pulling, he almost pulled a triple-double his first game as a Sixer, and he pulled a triple-double the second game. And he looked like his 2018 and 2017 and 2016 self again. All of this is a ruse because you won't see much of that. You probably see it in flashes and in spurts, but you won't see that in totality come late April, in May, and June. Because Harden disappears like Houdini. So the Nets wanted to get rid of the disappearing act that was disgruntled. And Philly's going to receive that, unfortunately, because when things go tough, he wants to get going, and that's Harden. Philly wanted to get rid of the malcontent who simply did not want to play for them, and now he's maybe not so much of a malcontent, but he pretty much should be a malcontent who hasn't suited up yet as a Net. See, swapping problems. Now, we won't see the totality of the problem swapping in Philly yet because we still have one full month of NBA basketball in the regular season to go and the play-in round. We will see it starting mid-April and probably into May if the Sixers were to advance to the conference semifinals. But do I think either team stands a chance of becoming an Eastern Conference representative or a world champion in 2022? No, because I think the Nets have too much drama, and unfortunately, the 76ers had too much issue and too much turmoil and too much angst and too much infighting to where they can all of a sudden do a 180, correct itself, and then be a team that is in lockstep and seeing nothing but the Larry O'Brien trophy, and anything else is a non-starter. To me, the 76ers sees this as a lost season because Ben Simmons did not want to be a part of them. The Nets see this as a lost season for many reasons. Durant's health. You have Kyrie Irving not wanting to be vaccinated and basically ruling himself out of being anywhere in or near Barclays Center because New York's vaccination rules. And you have James Harden, who had hamstring issues all of a sudden. So when you have all of those things, those situations happen because now they have a person who isn't even suited up still. You swap problems. And so you're still going to get more of the same. And both teams need to prepare for 2023 right now. Chill. Tell me.
We gotta pause that.
So that's my take on things. What do you think? Because I want to hear what you have to say. Like this video and share it all throughout your social media community. Comment below because I do want to hear everything you have to say. And don't forget, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to get all content that emanates from Cole Sports. That's my time. I'm Cole Johnson, and this has been yet another installment and episode of Cole Sports on the visual and on the daily. See you tomorrow.